Hi, you're listening to Movie Fail Podcast. I'm Soren Howe, and I'm here with Fabrizio Federico, an independent filmmaker out of the UK. So thank you for joining me. I know it's the time difference is kind of crazy, but I'm glad we were able to connect.
Definitely, mate.
Yeah, I guess I just want to really get into this. It seems like you've got a very unique perspective on the filmmaking world and on cinema. But I want to just, before we get into that, I just want to start with your history a little bit. How did you get involved in filmmaking? Did you do film school, or were you just making films on your own, or how did that work?
No, I've always loved cinema since I was a really, young kid, but, like really weird movies, probably movies that I shouldn't have been watching when I was like, 5 to 10. And it just kind of like blew my mind away, some of the films that I was watching, like Dennis Hopper's The Last Movie. I remember that really like vividly when I first saw that. And I was like, this ain't like Gremlins. So, that kind of blew me away. And I ended up making my first movie when I got deported from America. So I'd done music before that. So when I got over here, I had all this time on my hands, and I'm like, let's make a movie. And after a while, it was like, why not make a feature film on a mobile phone? And that took about a year to film, a year to put it together. Then you did like the tour of the film festivals and all that. So it was a big experience, and I had no idea what I was doing the whole time throughout the shoot. It was just hit and miss the whole time, basically.
Right. So what made you want to actually do it, though? I mean, so it's one thing to love cinema. I mean, I'm a good example of that. I really like movies, but I've never really had the urge to create a film. So what made you want to actually put throw your hat into the ring?
I don't know. I've been going through this experience of like having to start a new life, and I reckon that there might be a lot of people out there who might identify with being young, being lost, not knowing what to do with your life, that type of feeling, and how you can go like down the wrong path if you decide to kind of embrace hustling and drugs and that type of thing. I've always been creative anyway. I've always been. I used to be in bands, creating my own music. I used to do art, so I'm just creative anyway. And I've never done a film, so I just wanted like a new experience. So I figured just dive into it and see what happens. I mean, the worst that could happen was I wouldn't finish it, but I just persevered. We didn't have any money, when we were doing it. I do life modeling when I was making the movie, so that kind of like afforded me to give food to the company that were helping me. It was mainly like university students and homeless people, prostitutes, just random people that I met on the street who always wanted to make movies and stuff like that. So, I don't know, I think most people are creative. I mean, I think if you were given the chance, you'd probably make a movie yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I the only reason I say that I've sort of stepped away from that is that I have a very good friend who is a filmmaker, and every time he's offered for me to be involved in the process, I've sort of backed away from it. I guess I like the position of removed from it, but that's awesome that you've it sounds like a really interesting way to film a movie, to just find people. So there are a lot of non-actors in your film.
Oh yeah, it's like being in a big car crash. Every day is completely different, new set of problems. But I like that because it keeps me on my toes. I wouldn't never want to be too comfortable in life. So every now and then I throw myself a new challenge. I don't know. I think my next challenge will probably be getting married. I'm really skeptical about that, but I think I might, give it a go,
Yeah, I mean, hey, why not, right?
Yeah. I think everybody gets divorced these days anyway, so it's not a big deal if you do end up getting divorced. It's, it doesn't really bother me that much. But yeah, things like that, new little things that I like to dive into, blindfolded, I guess, mate.
So when you were talking about your feature film, was that Black Biscuit?
Yeah, Black Biscuit was the first one I did, and now Pregnant is the second feature that I've just finished. I've done like a few shorts here and there, but I'm kind of against shorts. But I kind of just make... I don't know, I almost see like making a short film as like masturbation almost. It's just something that I can do so quickly. I don't see the challenge in making a short film, but I don't know, a feature movie is like going on a road trip or a big adventure to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to a really tight, concise short film. There's that famous quote that if I had what was it? If I had the time, I'd make this letter shorter or something like that. And it's the idea that to make something concise and quick and to the point almost takes more time than a longer piece. But at the same time, I know for a fact that the production of a feature film takes a lot of time and effort. So that's very interesting. So how did that turn out for you? How was Black Biscuit? How did people
Oh, it was really great. It reminded me of a bit of punk music when it came out. There was young people mainly liked it, but old people hated it, which is I kind of expected that reaction. But at the same time, I like the fact of like creating a generation gap in cinema. You don't really hear it too many. It's pretty amicable. Young filmmakers are usually pretty happy to kind of like bend over and kind of do it the way the old generation did it. I wanted to do something completely different and create something new. The evolution of cinema kind of it's stalling compared to music and literature and things like that. So you kind of have to push things forward and take chances, I feel.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that as an idea. It seems like you're interested in the experimental end of cinema.
Oh, completely. I mean, I'm not necessarily out to shock people, but that's kind of just what I'm into. You should see some of the days I have. It's just, you know what I mean? I know it gets me in trouble a lot. I mean, like, in the middle of... once I finished Black Biscuit, I was starting to film Pregnant, and I ended up falling out of a tree, and I ended up breaking my foot, and I had to go to the premiere of Black Biscuit at Raindance Film Festival in crutches, so it keeps things interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really sacrificing for your craft, at least.
Yeah, I like it like that.
Yeah. So, I guess on that note, I feel like there's a fine line between someone like Sergei Eisenstein and Thierry Guetta from. Did you see Exit Through the Gift Shop by any chance?
No, I haven't.
The Banksy film. So in that movie, it's about Banksy the street artist, but it's also about this French director who eventually edits together this weird documentary within a documentary, and it comes across very strangely.
They swap roles, don't they?
Halfway through, and that's because of this little documentary he shows to Banksy, and Banksy's like, that was insane. It's so I'm going to take over. So he basically takes over and edits together Exit Through the Gift Shop. So. But I guess my point is really that between somebody like Sergei Eisenstein, who's doing all this, crazy montage stuff, juxtaposing really contrasting images to, bring out emotion from the viewer, comparing that to someone like Thierry, who made this strange, similarly, like, visually similar, but not really the same, level of craftsmanship. Like, what's the secret behind using more abstract cinematic concepts to create something more like Eisenstein, or somebody who's really trying to get a specific set of emotions?
Yeah, I like he's great and all that, but it's kind of too academic. But I like to make mine more like pop, like kind of sugary type of pop mixed with that. So maybe like mix them up together, where you'll have like a John Hughes type of film mixed with Man with a Movie Camera, give it that immediate type of effect. But I don't know, Batsky's a bit like that, all of his graffiti, it's cartoony, isn't it? Like I'm very cartoony. I do caricatures, so that kind of like seeps into my work, I guess, in a way. Yeah, like I can go up to anyone, any stranger, and kind of like convince him to be in a movie if I have to.
But on that note, I mean, I was looking at some of your work, and it seems like music plays a big role in that, and the way music interacts with color.
Yeah. They kind of just go together completely. A lot of the music in the film I've written myself, and I play guitar anyway, so I might as well make my own music for it. But I don't know. I like to mix them up together. It's always like rock and roll cinema in a way, It's I just see the two as kind of like feeding into, because I used to be a DJ anyway, so it's almost like I'm a a DJ director almost. I can put so many different styles all in together. It'd be so boring if it was just like one style of cinema. You know, I can go from documentary to comedy to horror. Like Pregnant's kind of like a technology horror film, but like different aspects of it, like mix and matching and being a DJ.
Right, and sort of remixing. And it looks like you use a lot of. Do you use a lot of footage from other things as well?
Sometimes I find, you know, it's easy these days. You just, you know, go into like arts and crafts stores and they've got like all these VHS tapes that have just been like abandoned. So, you know, you just find some like lost footage, mix it up, and you know, just kind of see what comes out of it. Really,
that's right. You know, I've seen a lot of experimental films and things like that. I haven't seen people repurposing older pieces, sort of like, you know, it does remind me of music in that way. Like, you know, a lot of popular songs now are popular, but they often use tunes and things from older tracks that they've just remixed into something new.
Oh yeah, it's just DJ cinema basically. I can't even tell you if there's any other directors that are doing it. No one else comes to my mind anyway, but it's just like a really fresh approach to me. And it keeps me creative, you know. I mean, if I'm ever stuck on some film, I'll listen to some music, and that'll give me like inspiration. Well, I mean, I listen to so many different things. Like when I was doing Black Biscuit, I was listening to like Charles Manson music and Pink Floyd. Like, it was really like It was like an LSD type of film, and this film's a bit more. It's a bit barer, you know. I got into Manic Street Preachers, like especially like the Ritchie era, you know, and even some country music I was listening to, and the Doors. You know, the Doors are like my favorite band of all time. You know, they just like fit into everything that I do. The Doors imagery. Do you like the Doors?
Yeah, the Doors are great. The Doors are great. Pink Floyd's great. So yeah, no, I mean, it depends on the really the context. I think of what, you know, what you're associating those images and that music. But I think that it's really interesting that you're doing it this way, and also not only in terms of you know, the audio, but also in terms of the visual, in terms of remixing and things like that. So I guess that begs the question: what is Pregnant?
Well, Pregnant's more. It's, as I said, it's kind of like it's about technology addiction in the 21st century. I just see it as like the 21st century's biggest like. It's like an epidemic. I just see people all the time looking at the mobile phones or checking Facebook, and I've seen girls looking at their phones and nothing being there. They're just looking at a blank screen. It's an epidemic, and I mean, I was born in '83, so I kind of come from a generation where I know what it's like not to have internet and mobile phones and things like that. So, but these kids and the kids in the future, they're never gonna know what it's like not to always have a phone there. And I mean, I've seen little kids, 3-year-olds with mobile phones. I mean, that's and I just feel that people are getting worse and worse at kind of on a one-on-one basis, kind of talking about their feelings and being in the moment. I mean, you know, you'll be at like a bus stop or something like that. Everyone's looking at the phone. No one's kind of interacting. It's like a ghost town to me. So I kind of wanted to show that. So, you know, like my character, I shot most of my scenes, which are in the desert. I went to this like kind of like a cult commune out in Spain called Sunseed. So I was out there and I kind of filmed, and I lost so much weight. I look anorexic in it because they were vegetarians, and I just lost incredible amount of weight, but it kind of went with it. So my character kind of goes on like discovery where he's walking around the desert and slowly dehydrating, and eventually he ends up dying. But at the same time, he discovers like an inner peace where if you watch the rest of the film, every other character is kind of in some form of like technology addiction where they're stuck imprisoned in their bedroom, just on the computer all day, you know, that type of behavior. I don't know, I guess it's like an amalgamation of different characters that have gone into the film. As like, it's a bit like Malcolm X and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. Like, their spirit is all mixed together into the film, I think.
That's something that a lot of people have brought up recently. I mean, Louis C.K. has a famous bit on it. He was on a talk show. I think maybe it was Conan. I'm not sure, or maybe it was Letterman. And he was talking about this and just how people can't be alone with themselves. They have to have some form of communication with someone else at all times. If they're not talking to someone, they have to be on their phone or they have to be, on the internet or something like that. And I think that that's definitely true. But what struck me about the trailer for Pregnant was that you open the trailer opens with this quote about images and how they affect the viewer. And so I was wondering it seems like you use a lot of very striking images in your films. So what role do you think that plays in how someone processes a film, and also how does it play into mass media and how people consume information?
I mean, all the images that you see, they're not random, I mean, I spent like a year editing it.
Of course.
So, I mean, a lot of people feel that way, but a lot of the images, they're tailor-made for the spirit of the film. So, yeah, as I said, it's like a horror film about technology addiction. So, I mean, you got that montage of all these Facebook likes, 3 million likes, 4 million likes, 5 million likes, things like that are like, oh, they scare me. I can't believe how everyone's addicted to getting likes on Facebooks these days. That and like these Facebook celebrities, the guy who plays the role of the Facebook addict. The images kind of just it's like a painting or a poem, it's like a film poem tailor-made to kind of, I don't want to say too much about it, because if I give away all the clues and all that, it's going to become it's going to be too easy to read. The film is
right.
The film is meant to be watched like 10 times. You can watch the film 10, 15, 20 times, and every time you can have like a different perception of the images that are coming at you. Like the first time you might watch it and you'll say, oh, that's random, but if you watch it a second time, you can get a different image out of it and kind of see where I'm going. So I mean, a lot of movies are kind of, you watch them once and you throw them away. It's almost like having a Big Mac, it's like fast food movies. But I want this film to kind of be watched in 100 years' time, and people will still be like scratching their heads over it, type of thing.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, I guess my question from that would lead to something along the lines of, like outside of your film, do you think that there is an influence? So if we see big, warning headlines on TV about Ebola or whatever, is the latest scare, and then we see images of people that aren't even necessarily the same people who they're supposed to be talking about, but they look sick and dying, and so they'll show pictures there, and just how the news and things like that communicate images to elicit a certain reaction from the audience. It seems like you're doing that in an intentional way, obviously to communicate the message of your film.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, I was kind of influenced by the editing of the 10 o'clock news and all that, how they come at you. So I almost see the news now as being like watching a horror film. I mean, they're not really giving you much positive information, are you? It's just like constant scare tactics over. It's just brainwashing to me, the news these days. I find it really hard to believe a lot of the rhetoric that comes out, especially over all the scandals that have been going on in the UK. I don't know if in the States you guys have heard of like Rupert Murdoch and News of the World, and you just don't know what to believe anymore. And I just basically threw that as a narrative kind of texture into Pregnant as, this is how the news is, and see what it does to you. It's just brainwashing, mate.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like that was your angle. I just wanted to clarify and see that, I had gotten that right.
No, completely. Yeah, completely. It's... The thing is, you get influenced day by day when you're making a film, and as I said, it's been like 3 years, so every single day you're getting influenced in a different way. I don't think any director kind of sits down and says, I'm going to stick to this path and kind of follow it like that. Every day you just get influence after influence, and it just leads the film in a different direction every day.
Absolutely. I mean, I think with narrative films, sometimes they have an idea, but then things work. I don't remember who it was, but I was watching a video of a famous documentarian, and he was talking about how he would go out, he would interview a bunch of people, he would collect all the notes on like hundreds of index cards filed by topic, and then from there he would build the story that he was going to tell, because I mean, how you can't tell at all. I mean, that's hours and hours and hours and hours of footage, or possible footage that you could use. So yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't make my life easy because I don't use scripts. I haven't used a script even on the first one. It's all in my brain. I just I've got a rough idea what the film wants to say and what it's going to look like and all that. But after that, I don't feed lines or anything like that. I just kind of let this camera roll and see what happens. And then, as you said, it kind of becomes a bit of a nightmare when you have to piece it all together. That's why my films take so long to kind of edit together. You end up with hours and hours of footage, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You kind of have to put it all together. I like to kind of experiment, though. I'll take LSD and see what the hell comes up. Other times I'll even blindfold myself. I'll edit the film blindfolded.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've got pieces, and I'll put them randomly about, but it doesn't really matter because they've got the idea that I want to get across, so they're juxtaposed or anything like that. But yeah, I like to just be creative through the whole film, even during the editing process.
Yeah, that is, I have to say I've talked to quite a few filmmakers and writers, and I have not heard of that process before. But that's fascinating. I have to say that. So, when you're editing blindfolded, are you basing that on audio cues?
Not really, just like the visual bits. The audio I just put in afterwards, but like for the visual, I'm just I'll take this here and I'll put that one there. But I'm all blindfolded while I'm doing it.
Oh wow! Okay, well then that is definitely very a unique process. So and then afterwards, I presume you would take another look at it and see how it all pieces together.
Yeah. I mean, depending on how I'm feeling, but it really frees you up though. It's incredibly liberating not working with a script and putting the material here and there and just kind of seeing what happens. I love improvising. I just see life as being like a big improvisation anyway. So why not let that carry over into the films that I'm making, I guess.
Well, it also what it does is it breaks a pattern. So if you might have edited it one way because it's a pattern that you're not even conscious of, if you're blindfolded. It's just random.
Yeah, I kind of got the idea from William Burroughs because he uses the cut-up technique. He did that with his books. So I figured try that with the editing process of films, and it's true. You've just got 100% freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's like I said, I haven't heard, but that is interesting that it comes from Burroughs because it's certainly one way to approach the creative process, and I think for films that are experimental and are working with things like specifically with images and the way they sort of move together and convey some sort of message, I think that it makes more sense. It might not make so much sense for Schindler's List or something, but
nah, of course not. Nah. I mean I've got nothing against Hollywood or anything like that. I mean, the only thing I've got against them is really that they're so they stagnate. As I said before, they kind of stagnate how cinema's evolving. But I grew up on movies that have had scripts and things like that. I don't know for now, but who knows in the future what who knows? I might do a strange version of a script. But at the moment, I have no interest in whatsoever in working with a script. I've got too much freedom at the moment to go in that direction. A lot of people always compare my work to Harmony Korine, and I really don't understand that. My influences are kind of, I don't know. I like, as I said before, I like Dennis Hopper. I think Vincent Gallo's incredible. He's really overlooked, and I feel bad for him because every time he releases a film, he kind of gets stabbed hundreds and hundreds of times by all these critics, and I don't see what a lot of critics' problem is with filmmakers being a bit. I get accused of being like big-headed and what's a word for? I can't think of the word now that they use, but they seem to have something against filmmakers kind of trying different things, and I don't understand it.
I think personally, I think trying new things is the way the medium moves forward. But I said this in another interview to another couple of filmmakers who had made this experimental horror film, and I was saying I don't know how well something like Man with a Movie Camera would be received if it was just released in theaters now.
Yeah.
It's more that people can see its value and its effect in hindsight. But it's hard to know what things are, what's going to stick and what's not, 20, 30 years down the line.
Yeah, I mean, do you think cinema audiences now have become a bit more subdued to these types of films? I mean, it's a good point you said there. Like, a lot of films that were released back in, I don't know, the 70s, the 60s, even earlier, I can't ever see them being accepted now. But I don't know, maybe my films will become a bit more seen, by the general public when I die or something like this, right?
Yeah, you really never know, and it's impossible to predict. But I would say that there's the only way to make a mark is by making a mark. You have to do something. If you just do what everyone else is doing, then what have you really achieved? And you're not gonna really make an impact. Is that where I saw you have the future of cinema slogan on a couple of things? Is that where that comes from?
Oh yeah, well with Black Biscuit, I came up with a manifesto called Pink 8. I'd read about Dogma 95, which was like Lars von Trier's manifesto in the 90s, and I kind of wanted to take it further than the Dogma 95 manifesto and make it more dangerous. And I do think it is, because it kind of takes away it just takes away everyone's personal style if they're all taught how to do it a single way like they do it in universities. I think you should go with how you feel. If that's the style that you like, so be it. Fuck it, right?
Right. Yeah. No. that's certainly an approach. I know plenty of people who have eschewed filmmaking school altogether, film school altogether. And other people who have gone through the film program. I know I went through a film program, but obviously more on the academic and critical side of things. But yeah, no, absolutely. I think that there's it breeds more intrigue, and it's like there weren't film schools for what is it? Many decades, in the first half of the 20th century. So people were just making movies, I guess, based on other people's films. And on what they felt they wanted to try or to communicate. And it's with the advent of film schools that we see new forms of filmmaking, which are very interesting. But I agree that it, in some ways, I'm sure it has stagnated. So actually, that brings up, I think, the crux of all this, which is, you talk about Hollywood and stagnation in the industry and things like that. And I know that you're a big fan of low budget or ultra low budget or no budget filmmaking. So, first of all, what are the advantages to something like that? And also, how do you think that's going to affect the industry? Because now anybody with a cell phone basically can film something.
Yeah, well, that's the best thing about it. You don't need any money now to make a feature film. It's incredibly liberating, and Hollywood, they don't really talk about it. They'd rather ignore it. But I don't know, I predict in like 10, 20 years, if not sooner, these types of films, like I'm making, non-budget type of films, will be in cinemas. If cinemas are even around then. I mean, I don't think there'll be as many cinemas as there used to be. That's for sure. As I said, I think everybody will just be at home on the internet watching movies, not leaving the house. It's just... like pregnant is it's an attention call to this generation that this might happen. If you're just going to end up becoming imprisoned in the house and you're not going to enjoy it. I mean, I love going to the cinema and I'd love to see my type of films in movie houses, but I got a funny feeling that everyone's just going to be at home most of the time watching movies. I mean, there's a lot of film festivals now that are online, so you don't even need to go to the actual film festival. It's just online.
That's crazy. I mean, that's like a whole other thing. There's a lot of people bemoaning the death of the cinema, not of the industry, but of the actual theater, and how people aren't going anymore. I know David Lynch, for example, is very upset that people are watching his movies on, you know, cell phones and things like that. He doesn't get it. He's like, this is not watching. You might think you've watched the movie, you haven't watched the movie. And so absolutely. And so, you know, the whole thing is changing. But do you think that's a good thing?
Not really. I mean, it's more fun to take, even if you take a girl. You know, I mean, fair enough. If you take a date home and you're watching a movie at home, you can that'll lead to sex. But it's pretty cool taking a date out and then end up making out with them at the cinema. You know, that was always. I thought that was a great experience to go through when you're growing up, you know. But yeah, the social side's going to die, unfortunately. I don't see it as being a good thing, to tell you the truth. It's easier to watch films and that thing, but the social interaction's going to die out, and I think that's going to be the tragic side of it, to tell you the truth. Oh my God, my neighbor right now is naked.
Wow.
He's huge. Like, he's really obese. Fucking God. Yeah. No, but I think it's going to be tragic.
I mean, I think the other thing, too, is beyond dates, it's a different experience having, you know, speakers around you and being in a dark theater, seeing a giant screen with, you know, whatever's playing. For example, I have my good friend who's a filmmaker. He has a short film that's going to be premiering at is being entered into a few festivals right now, and he was able to premiere it at a local cinema, and I had seen it before on a little, you know, on his laptop, but I think it was an experience for him and me and for everyone else to see what it looks like, you know, on the big screen, and it just really spoke to, I think, the difference between seeing movies at home on a computer versus seeing them in a cinema.
It almost makes more sense when it's on a big screen. Right. It really does. It hits you harder. It won't hit you as hard. As I said, it'll just be like fast food cinema. That's how it is if you just watch it all. Especially on YouTube, you know, all the movies are on YouTube now. It's good that there's all the variety, but at the same time, it kind of cheapens the art side of it.
Right. Yeah. No. It's a weird dichotomy of, like, you have people using the tools available to make, you know, movies, but at the same time it's saturated the market in a crazy way too. But I think
can't have the best of both worlds, I guess.
Right, exactly. So I think the other thing is that, you know, speaking back to, you know, your idea about your thoughts about technology and how it's sort of taking over people's lives, going to the cinema ideally means that you're going to go in, turn off your phone, and not talk to people, and you're going to watch the movie, which sort of grabs your, you know, undivided attention. I can't tell you how many people I know who have sat down to watch something like, I don't know, Sling Blade or some great movie, and you know they're texting and they're like, I don't know what's going on, and so I guess, you know, the advantage of a cinema is that it keeps you, like, you won't have anything else to do except look at the screen.
It's disgusting, isn't it? I went to a funeral recently, and about 6 or 7 people's phones went off.
Wow.
It was disgusting. I mean, the first person, fair enough. You think everybody had turned the phone off after that. But you know what I'm saying? It's like people lost touch with reality. I really think... I feel like we live in this, like, existential, surreal type of non-linear world now where it's almost like we're in a video game. Common sense has kind of gone out the window. It blows my mind. It's a completely different world to when I've grown up with, because I grew up in the countryside. You know, I'm like a country boy from Italy, and seeing how it was when I grew up to how it is now, it's like a big commercial. I just feel like I'm in either a video game or like an MTV type reality TV show. It's really bizarre. I don't know where I stand on or where I am anymore, to tell you the truth. I've lost touch with reality, I'll tell you that.
Well, I mean, I think that it's really the best example of that would be, you know, people will text and drive, right? And you can explain to them, show them videos, say, like, look, there's no way you can do this without putting everyone in danger, and regardless, it is more important for them to text, and you know, and they take that over their survival instinct, and that to me is astounding.
Yeah, it's just I'm speechless sometimes when I see younger people doing these types of behavior patterns. It really blows me away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say about it other than at least we have, you know, we have things like Pregnant and Black Biscuit to counteract them, I guess.
Yeah, I look at it like that a little bit. Yeah, it's for people. Even my, you know, if I have kids one day, it's for people to watch it and to kind of like say, you know, there's a lot of beautiful things out there that you're missing out on. As I said, you know, I'd rather go to the movies and, you know, get a blowjob than watch it at home by myself. Put it like that. It's a really bizarre world that we're living in at the moment, and Pregnant kind of captures that. I think it's almost like, because as I said, it's all over the place. It's kind of like an ugly film in a way, because it's got, you know, people strapped at home masturbating over Bill Gates, and it's almost like going from A to B to Z. It's a jumbled up film, but I think I almost want my films to be like a trip. It could be like an LSD trip or something like that, where after you've watched it, you can't go back to how you were before. And it might even put you off watching films completely. Something like that. But I want people to walk away feeling different and to think about the metaphors that are going on in the movie. What was I doing? I was on BBC Radio talking about it, and funny enough, they were doing a big thing that day about cell phone technology or whatever. But yeah, it's all done and ready to be shown.
But isn't it coming out in 2015, or is that not the case?
Oh, that's just by the time it'll be in the film festivals, it'll be by next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because a lot of the film festivals that I've sent it to, they don't, you know, the film festival starts next year because I've missed the deadline for this year, so it's going to be next year. So, yeah, it'll be a 2015 film, even though it was finished in 2014.
Well, it gives you time to start your next project.
Exactly, yeah. At the moment, I'm kind of putting my next one together, actually. It's almost like a serial killer road trip type of film, where the guy... It's just an idea. You know, I've met this actor who kind of reminds... Like, I usually hate actors, but this guy seems to... I do. I think a lot of them are the biggest wimps that I've ever met. I did a shoot once, and the guy didn't want to get on his knees. And it's like, you know, you went from Robert De Niro, who used to put on loads and loads of weight for Raging Bull, to this guy who won't even get on his knees for a shoot. So after that experience, I just went to, you know, non-actors. But, I don't know, this guy's different. He said he'll do anything. So that's all you got to tell a director if you want to ever work with him, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you know, throwing yourself at the mercy of a director, it's tough. You know, there's that clash of egos that always happens, but
yeah, but he sounds pretty genuine, like he'll do anything basically. But it's his character who he's in his 30s or 40s or whatever, and his parents have just gotten divorced after about 70 years of marriage. So it's almost kind of like taking a spear at the whole, you know, is marriage worth it these days? Is it something that's still holy? You know, that type of thing. And he kind of goes on a bit of a killing spree after this, and he meets some interesting people along the way.
So this has nothing to do with your life at all.
Well, my parents are divorced, so my parents did get divorced, but it didn't happen till I was like 21 or something like that, so I was kind of glad that they got divorced by the time it happened. You know, but I don't know, maybe that, I don't know, Kurt Cobain went pretty flipping crazy when his parents got divorced, didn't he? But
no, I meant more in terms of your potential marriage type of situation.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, yeah, it's just been on my mind. It's funny enough, with Pregnant, I went through a miscarriage as well. So it's strange. There seems to be like weird dichotomies running through each film that I make, where the art becomes life or life becomes art. You know, that type of thing. It's just really strange, and it was weird because I'd already called the film Pregnant. You know, it's not really about pregnancy, really. There's a few scenes about pregnancy, but it's about a pregnant pause and how you experience that in life. But yeah, I ended up going through a miscarriage and, you know, some other relationship things. And I don't know where this film's going yet. It's still at the really beginning stages, but no. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know if it happens to other directors as well. But I see, even with numbers, like when I did Black Biscuit, I remember seeing the number 3 everywhere, and for this one, I'm seeing the number 13 everywhere. For this, for when I was doing Pregnant. So I don't know. I'm a bit superstitious because I grew up Catholic in Italy. So I am very superstitious when it comes to things like that.
Yeah, no, it seems like certainly you've had these weird parallels with your life, and it's both been influenced by and influenced your work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky to be alive in the first place. I mean, I ended up surviving a house fire when I was about 3 or 4. So I'm lucky to be alive in the first place. And I think if you experience like a close death call, especially if you're really young, you just end up you see the world differently, and you try to make each day count in its own way, good or bad, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm very intrigued to check out your work, especially Pregnant. Sounds like it's really tapping into the zeitgeist, and so does the divorce, road murderer film. Both tap into something not really so much with the murdering, but with marriage.
Yeah, I don't have a title for that yet either. I have no idea what I'm going to call it. So, any suggestions? Go for it.
If I come up with anything, I'll let you know. Oh, how about Mad Max? Oh wait, no, that's
Mad Max 8.
Mad Max 8, exactly. But absolutely, I think these are both very relevant films, which might be the way to break that that barrier between the audience and experimental film by offering something that's at least related to what's going on at the time, and it's not just
Yeah, and it'd be a weird, like, as I said before, if you look back at it in 10 years' time, it'd be strange looking back on this period of it, because things are moving so fast.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't, I'm still waiting for the flying cars and things like that to happen, so I can't imagine what things are going to be like in 20, 30 years.
I can't either. I'm a scientist by training, a microbiologist, and I have absolutely no idea where science is going. Every day I hear about some new technology in genetics or in engineering or whatever, and it just blows my mind. And the fact that those are ideas now means that in 10 to 15 years we will have figured that out, I'm sure. And it's just it's amazing.
Yeah, like when I was doing Pregnant, I'd heard about we can download consciousness. So if you felt like being a different personality, you could go to you could go to a scientific laboratory and become a different person just by downloading someone else's consciousness. It blows my mind. Yeah, have you heard anything like that?
What I've heard about is there's that was it the 2022 or 2023 or something project, and it's some billionaire who wants to develop a way to capture human consciousness in a computer so that, I guess, rich people can put their consciousness into computers. And I don't know, it seems like a very strange concept, but it's certainly an evolution of the same idea that we're so, tied into the digital world. But we don't even need to become computer. I mean, our DNA is itself a code in a very clear, well-patterned sort of way. So
yeah, it's almost like Nirvana now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we're certainly approaching it.
Instant Nirvana.
Instant Nirvana, exactly. I mean, there's things they can do with gene therapy, change your genes on the fly. Not quite yet, but these are new technologies that are certainly being worked on, and it's crazy. Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining me to talk about these films. It's always refreshing to talk to indie filmmakers, and very indie filmmakers, not just people who made it to the front of Sundance or whatever. Because it seems like you guys have really interesting ideas about the industry, how to approach filmmaking, and sort of where to go from here.
Oh yeah, it's a brand new way of looking at cinema. Kind of taking a positive of what you can do on YouTube and things like that, and just kind of giving it a punk edgy style to it. But I'm loving it, mate.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All right.